Hey, yo. Welcome to the line. Today we're talking to Peter, who's a transphobe. Vice Rhino and GE set his ass straight. Oh, also GE hangs up on the motherfucker. Y'all have fun now. All right, well, next up, we've got Peter from Canada again.
Almost like the Americans are busy.
Canada! Fuck yeah!
How are you? How are you doing?
Doing pretty good there, Peter.
Good. I'd like to say Happy Independence Day to both of you.
I'm not a man,
Fuck yeah!
but thank you anyway.
Okay. Anyway, so I'd like to know what is your opinion about trans people?
People.
They are awesome people. They're people in general. They exist. I don't know. It's kind of
them existing since like 9,000 years ago, at least.
Yeah. So I guess the question is rather broad. Like, what do we think of trans people? They're people.
Depends on the trans person.
Okay.
Katie Montgomery. Love her.
Let me specify. What do you think about trans people? What do you think about trans men or trans women, I should say, competing in women's sports?
I don't care about sports at all, so I don't have much of an opinion. Like, let them play. My understanding is that most of the sports have rules centered around like testosterone levels or whatever that they apply to trans. Like the Olympics has allowed trans athletes since like I think it's 2002, and they test testosterone levels. And if as long as it's in the acceptable range, they let them play. And even with allowing trans athletes since 2002, there's only been like 3 or 4 that have even competed, and they have not done very well. So this whole fear about women or trans women taking over women's sport, I think it's completely unfounded. Otherwise, like anytime people bring this up, there's like 2 examples of a trans woman that did really, really well, and then they go to those 2 examples and say, "Oh, this is the downfall of the sport because of these 2 women." They've been allowed in for a couple decades now. You'd think they would have done better if it was going to be the downfall of the sport.
Okay, so let me say this on this the whole trans issue. Hold on. So, trans women are women, trans men are men. So if you're going to divide the sport up based on gender or sex, then I guess the women should compete against women and men should compete against men. Now, where I feel like you get into the area of shooting yourself in the foot is when you try to make trans men who are men compete against women. And that's essentially what you're doing if you want to suggest that trans men shouldn't compete against men and trans women should compete against women.
There are a lot more examples of trans women being forced to compete against men and vice versa, like where they either completely crush the competition because they're on the hormones or whatever. Like there's way more examples of that than examples of a trans woman taking over in a sport and winning all the championships because she's on the hormones. Like the problem is literally the opposite of what everybody makes it out to be. Like when you don't compete on the team that they're.
What always gets me is the bathroom debate, right? Because obviously everybody cares where everybody goes and takes a shit. But what people that don't want to allow trans men who are men to use the men's restroom is that they want the trans men to go into the women's restroom. And so you end up having somebody like Buck Angel walking into the women's restroom just because you're too ignorant to understand what it means to be a trans man. And so therefore you have a man that's being forced by whoever's forcing him to use the women's restroom. You're literally causing the issue that you don't want to happen. And so it seems to me like the whole discussion over whether women should compete against women is just asking to shoot yourself in the foot. Like you don't have to ask permission to do that.
Can I ask you a question? Gentlemen, may I ask you a question? If you see an animal with 4 legs, a tail, and goes meow, what do you call it?
I don't see the relevance to. I don't see the relevance to anything to do with trans.
Just go with me here. If you see an animal with 4 legs, a tail, and it goes meow, what do you call it?
I'd rather not go with you on this. I don't know what kind of distinction you're trying to discern here. I get that you're playing it. If it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, then it is a duck. But see, the problem is that trans men are men. You're asking if it walks like a man. man, if it looks like a man, if it sounds like a man, then it is a man. What?
That's my point. So why are you calling it women?
They trans woman is a woman.
Because a trans woman is a woman.
No, a trans woman is a man.
So you clearly don't understand that. First off, sex and gender are not the same thing. So gender identity it's a social. Okay, I am muting you for a sec.
There you go.
Sorry, John. I did log into Colin's studio while you weren't looking.
That's totally fine. I was about to do that.
So sex and gender are not the same thing. Gender identity is literally a social construct. That's what clothes you wear, what makeup you wear, your style, your fashion sense. In history, like a toga in ancient Greece, you put something like that on someone today, it looks like a dress. We would call that women's clothing. In ancient Greece, it was men and women's clothing. There wasn't a difference. Like a kilt in Scotland that can go either way. It's man's and women's clothing. You go to North America, it's like, what's that guy wearing a skirt for? But it's literally just a social construct. So when someone says I identify with female, it's like I want to present myself as female, I feel more like a woman, that's identifying with the social construct. Sex is completely different. That's determined by hormones and hormones and genes and all, like there's all sorts of things that go into there. You can have, like, it's not just the XY chromosome and the XX chromosome. It's not just the SRY gene. It's a combination of those things and other hormones, what happens in the womb during development. There are all sorts of complicated factors that make it not a black and white issue. You can have a woman who has a penis, but is genetically a woman. What would you call her? Would you call her a man or a woman? I'm taking you off mute now.
If a person has a penis, it's a man. If a person has a vagina, it's a woman.
That's not how you determine sex. You weren't listening. Sex is a very complicated process.
I don't have to listen. That says everything that we need to know about you.
You're going back on mute.
I'm sorry. I'm going to call it.
Oh, you're going to drop them? Okay, sure. Just drop them. Because like you can have XX chromosome. That's what these people will say. Oh, that's female. That's woman. XX chromosome. But you can have someone with an XX chromosome and a penis. So what do you call them? They've got female chromosomes, male genitalia. How about you go by what they identify as? That's a neat concept. I'm getting mad. I'm right there with you. I've got Casey over here being like, shh, John. But no, listen, if you're going to call into a call-in show, go ahead. I was just going to say, like, I might have gotten some of the details of this wrong because this isn't like an area of expertise of mine. But like, this is my understanding of it. If I am wrong, I do want to be corrected. But like, that, like, my understanding is that like it's perfectly valid. There's historical evidence for it. There's scientific evidence for it. Gender itself doesn't, like, who is to say that a skirt is male or female? We are, our society. But whatever. Okay, you don't say what you were going to say.
Well, yeah. So I mean, I was just going to say, and I don't know if this doesn't necessarily represent the feelings of the producers and owners of the line here. But if you're going to call into a call-in show to talk to hosts and then say, I don't have to listen to you, I feel like at that point you deserve to be hung up on because you're not here to discuss. You're here to talk.
Here to pontificate. Yeah.
Right. So that's why I dropped it. YouTube. Exactly. Shitty fucking YouTube channel. I'm sure that you'll get all of the shitty people. But in any case, if that person's still listening, there is a transatlantic show that airs here on Saturdays on the line. If you want to call in then with your bigotry,
Katie and Arden would be happy to take you to task for that.
Oh, they will fuck you up to hell and back. Okay. 5 p.m. Central on Saturdays. So definitely call in then there, buddy. America.